Hello, hello.
Hello.
We are live. If you are just seeing us on your live, welcome. We're going to give a few minutes for some people to join in with us because today we are going to be talking about state testing, and this time we're going to talk about math. So you might have seen it these last couple of weeks. We've been focusing on science, but math, it's part of the name. That's what we do. So,
Absolutely.
so we are streaming from Facebook, our private group on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. And if you are joining us, go ahead in the comments, comment your name, where you're from, and if you have a school age child, go ahead and put their grade level in the comments for us.
It looks like we have some people starting to join on Instagram. Let us know where you're from, what state, city, how old your kids are, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. All right, Houston, third grader, fourth grader in Frisco, Texas. Thanks for joining us. We're going to share some great information tonight. So you're definitely want to stay on to hear all of the things that we have to say. All right, Philly, ninth grader. Come on.
Now, if you're not from Texas, please know that just happens to be where we are from and where we currently reside. So Texas, we get overload, but keep in mind, anything that we're sharing here, we service all of the U.S. So we have students in Massachusetts, Florida, Georgia. I think at one point we even had New York. I mean, we're everywhere, Louisiana. So keep in mind while we're talking about Texas here, there are many state assessments that are going on right now. It's the season. Okay, North Carolina.
And a lot of the things that we're doing are translatable. So we're going to show you resources or where you should be looking and conversations you should have with your student or even share with your teachers. And these are definitely relatable no matter what state you live in, for sure. Salem, North Carolina.
Oh, and you teach fifth grade. So you definitely can relate to a lot of what we're about to share here. And if you know someone who could benefit from this live, go ahead and share it on your page. We haven't been on this live in a while ourselves. So definitely we were like, it's a little time. Let's go ahead and have a real conversation. Because we hear state testing and it doesn't get a good
it doesn't have a good reputation at all. Actually, we've seen some very creative posts out here about state testing and what y'all really think. It's interesting.
Absolutely. All righty. We're going to wait about one more minute and then we'll just kind of jump in. But for now, we'll just generally talk here. If you are new to our page, we are Mathematics Tutoring. Of course, the name has the math in there. So you may see we do a lot of videos and reels where we share different techniques, different tricks, hacks, as well as sometimes teaching the things that's like, hey, we didn't learn it. So what is this? You have come to the right place if you're looking for math, science, STEM. Those are things we share here on our page. Okay. Another Philly K through 12 assessment company. Awesome. Oh, so we might need to bring you in on the live. You work in the company. Awesome. No, we definitely hope this is very informative for you. All right. So it seems like we have a really nice audience here. So let's just go ahead and jump in. So this live, as the name tells you, it is state testing. Let's talk about the math. So we kind of want to talk generally, but then we also kind of want to share some of the findings that we have seen now that we've looked at some of these release tests and things we're seeing with our private students, as well as we're seeing with campus intervention. So we can do a quick introduction for those of you who may not know us. Don, you want to start?
I'm sure. Hi, I'm Dawn Brown. I am one of the co-founders and owners of Mathematics Tutoring, engineer by trade, and just a lover of all things math and problem solving. And I'm so excited that you all have joined us today.
And I'm Kimberly Grant. I am the other half. I'm the other co founder and owner of Mathematics Tutoring. And just like Don, engineering background. So it's a lot of math. And we kind of made that transition over to the educational space because there's a big need, as well as we just love it's one of those things we need more engineers out here. We need more educators. We need more people in tech. And unfortunately, when you do not know the math or you don't have those strong backgrounds, you eliminate your possibilities to be in those type of careers. So our goal here is you may not agree with some of the stuff we share here. We are just the messengers. We don't create it. We didn't invent the math.
Just the messengers.
We are the messengers because our comments, they are on fire when we share different reels. They're like, why y'all doing this to the kids? You're torturing them. That's not what we're doing. We are here to educate. We are to show you what your children are doing in school.
We
Okay.
don't even make up the problems or the strategies. We're just the messengers. That's it. That's it.
Mhm.
For sure.
So, to kind of start us off, so again, we are here in Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas is very known for our state assessments for third grade all the way up to high school in math, reading, science, English as well. And basically, what we do is we're focusing on state testing, which here we take the STAR. So many states have these standardized tests, but STAR here in Texas, when you hear it, parents, we be mad. I don't even have a better way to say it, but it is one of those things that we emphasize very greatly here. And one of the things that we know that we saw recently is about there's a group that is anti STAR and
Yeah.
that is really pushing parents to opt out of the STAR. But
Yeah.
what I think parents don't realize is when you opt out of it, there's other things that come along with it.
Absolutely. So, what people don't say about opting out, there are two things. One, if your child misses that school day, that's fine. They've technically opted out. But if they come back another day when makeup is offered, they're going to give your child that test. So you need to make sure that you're one well aware of all days that they need to miss school to truly not take the test. And then two, which is the really big one, is if they're offering any extra support or grouping the kids, which they group kids by data. If there's no data for your child, even if your child doesn't need it, they're going to put them in a category because they have no data. So it's going to be in the category that they're not necessarily making the cut. They go ahead and make assumptions when they do not participate in the standardized testing. So it is something to truly think about when you do decide to opt out, because they are going to use that data for sure to make decisions. And that could even be a decision of whether to put them, with the high level kids or not. You don't want them to miss out on an opportunity because they did not take it also. So you might want to have those conversations, whether it's with teacher and or staff, when you decide to make those decisions.
Absolutely. And then another thing, even about opting out here in Texas, they have what they call intervention. So recently, there was what was called the bill was passed, House Bill 4545, and then it became House Bill 1416. And basically, what it indicated is if your student fell in the approaches category, they had to receive some form of intervention in that subject, well, all subjects where they did not meet standards in. So if they fell in do not meet, and for some even approaches, they will be put into an intervention. Now, parents had the option to opt out. And when parents would call us, they were like, well, I don't want them to do that. I'm like, it is free. Let your child get this free tutoring. The school is covering, the government is, you are actually covering it when you pay your taxes. So I will be honest there, but it is intervention. And I'll even say this: if you like what you see us do here at Mathematics Tutoring, we are a approved Texas Education Agency tutoring provider, and so we are in some of these school districts where we are the intervention vendor. Now,
Absolutely.
of schools, if you're on here and you are looking for intervention vendors, Mathematics tutoring is likely on your vendor list. So I want to put that shout out there too. But for our parents, if your child has to do that intervention, do know I think initially it was 30 hours. It's now went down to 15 hours. And then I will also say that House bill is kind of coming to the end or the close. But generally, there is an intervention available, whether it is the teacher providing that tutoring. But if you choose to opt out automatically, your child will be put into intervention. And as Don shared, we use that data, and so do the schools, to determine what are the gaps they need, what do we need to fill in, as well as going back and saying, okay, these are the points they need to get back over the curve. So just keep those things in mind before you're making those decisions. And then it'll kind of even bring us to our next point of, y'all, if it's not STAR, if it's not, I think Florida does best test. If it's not one of those tests, it's going to be something.
It'll be SAT. It's
It's
going
going
to
to
be
be
ACT. It's
something.
going to be some kind of standard GED to get to the next level. Even on our jobs, we're tested. Some of the big top companies, Amazon's, uh, ExxonMobil, I think, used to do it even for interns. There is going to be some kind of testing that you're going to have to do to show your aptitude sometimes.
It's going to be something. Even for us, well, we didn't take STAR. We took TOS. Well, then TOS became tax. I think it was tax. Then it became STAR. So y'all, even if STAR goes away, or if your state's assessment goes away, they are going to pull something. And even if it's not that, you're going to have end of course. Especially when you get into high school, the students have that end of the year testing, and it's still that goes on their report cards. So there's going to be some form of testing that is going to occur. So it's kind of like the inevitable. So while you don't like it, you don't have to put the pressures on there. Matter of fact, you shouldn't put those type of pressures. It's just an everyday test. Your child is not the number that's on that test. They are not. And I see we're getting some questions in on Instagram.
Yeah, that's what I was answering. Let me see that. Somebody asks, when does the 15-hour requirement start? I think that one is the new bill that's going to start this upcoming school year. They're finishing off the 30-hour requirement, and then it will be the 15-hour minimum requirement this year, actually.
Okay. And then we got another question. How much do we charge for private tutoring? So our private tutoring, generally from elementary up to 8th grade math, is $65 an hour. And then as you get into those high school and accredited hours, it goes up a little bit more. But what we actually do, as you can see, a lot of times we run sales. So right now, many of you may not have seen it. We're actually running a sale right now. We do have a registration fee when you first start in. But right now, as part of our birthday sale that happened on our birthday, was our 11-year anniversary, let's say, that was on this past Monday, same day as Eclipse Day. So if you use the code BLACKOUT, it will absolutely give you our codes for those discounts. So if you're interested, I will definitely go ahead and say, send us a DM so that we can get you scheduled for your free consultation. And in those consultations, we talk directly for your state, your school district, or specific school, what your child is working on. Everything we do is we adapt to it. So like I said, we do a lot of Texas because this is where we live, but we service all over the US. And so we actually know those standards, whether it's Common Core or a state specific Common Core, or even an alternative. I know some of them do Duo, where they have theirs and Common Core. We actually do those as well. So if you send us a DM, we can actually go ahead and get you scheduled for a consultation so that we can dive in there and do standard learning plan for your child and get you started. Okay. And guys, if you just go ahead and you drop those questions, and as soon as we see it, we'll answer them for you.
And last thing I will say, just as a parent, because me and Kimberly are both parents, I look at the state test as a way to see, what do I need to work on at home, as well as, do I need to get an outside tutor for my child? And even reviewing problems with, your child, it just helps give you a baseline for you to know, when they go to the next grade, or when the teacher says something, like they see a gap or something, you at least have seen it for yourself in this test for sure. Um, just a takeaway. Even if you don't believe in it, it's an assessment.
Hmm. And then even to jumping into that part, a lot of the questions we get asked are why do the teachers teach to the test? And I will absolutely say that some do, but really it's the things that your child is already seeing or that they would learn anyway. And then we can definitely attest to that in math. So, what we have done actually is in our tutoring, we know that for us, STAR is starting for a lot of schools next week. And so once the state releases the test, your child gets a report. And on that report, it actually tells us the percentage of students who have got a problem correct or who have missed it. And you will be surprised at some of the numbers that we see. So, kind of, if we just kind of jump in, I also want to say many of these things, if you see a problem and you're like, hey, can you guys make a reel on that? Let us know. Or if it's a topic or a subject that you guys want to see, that is how we kind of create a lot of our content, is based on what parents recommend or even questions that we get in our DMs. So I'm going to go ahead and share this first one. Okay, so on our screen here, we actually have one of the release test questions from the third grade STAR here in Texas on last year. Now, why is this relevant? It's not just a random question we picked. As you can see, it actually came straight from it. It was problem number 24 on those students' tests. But 92% of all students who took the third grade STAR test missed this problem. There's a reason why they missed it. And so we kind of want to give you guys a chance to kind of look at it, and then we kind of want to talk about it. Okay. And so we can go ahead and read it here. So it says two friends played a game. The first friend scored 339 points. The second friend scored 75 points, more points than the first friend. Which strip diagram can be used to find the total number of points both friends scored? So right off the bat, I can tell you, with our tutors, we work on with our students a lot on strip diagrams. It's not that students cannot add, it's a lot of times, or even subtract, it is sometimes the representation. So I'll kind of let Dawn jump in on this one because I know she was seeing this and we were having long conversations about it. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so while she kind of gets ready. So the strip diagrams, basically what it does is it puts it in graphical form of how you would solve the problem. So here, if it says they wanted to know which one of them get the total number, we tell the students right off the bat, you're looking for total. So basically what you want to do is find the diagram that has both of these. Oh, and that's a great question. I just saw and I'll actually mention this. So one of the questions we got here on Instagram says, where can I find those statistics regarding last year's seventh grade math STAR question? In the past, they were called zingers. So if you have a student that took the test previous year, you actually get what's called a unique access code. You need that unique access code along with the student's date of birth and their first name. When they put it in, it will give you all of everything, how they performed on the test. It'll give you the statistics. It breaks it down by their school district, their specific school, as well as the full state. So the 92% that we're sharing basically is for the students who got no credit. So that means they either missed this problem or they didn't answer it at all. So 92% of every student, you're very welcome. 92% of every student who took this test last year missed this problem.
And the biggest thing is students don't know, where does my total go and where does my parts go? And that is one misconception. And a lot of the times they're still unsure, what is the question asking me? So for the first misconception, the total is always, or the sum is that top bar. And then our pieces, or the pieces that make up that total, is usually down at the bottom. And a lot of our questions will ask it two ways. Are we finding the pieces at the bottom and one of our pieces are missing? Or do we actually need to know the total at the top? And so there's still time to practice this, or to ask your student, hey, do you know what a strip diagram is? What are the parts? I'm sure their teachers are using anchored learning in their classrooms and have an anchor chart up, as our tutors do. We use anchored learning all the time to make sure our students know the parts. And they can use this strategy with any word problem, actually. That is the strategy, is using this method. So it doesn't matter if they have it drawn for you. Your student can actually create it for themselves to use this to answer any problem on their test, actually. So this is helping to see, do they know this strategy and this concept to solve a word problem?
And so for those of us that are joining us, go ahead and comment what the correct answer is. And I also want to share here, one thing about the statistics, if you have a child has taken or is about to take it, you can actually see what percentage what answer they chose, and it even gives you a breakdown of the rationale. So if you don't have a tutor, or if you're looking for, hey, how do I explain this to my child, they actually have a breakdown of the rationale as well. So if we get a few of you, go ahead and comment, drop your answers in the comments. Thank you to so many of you have joined our live. We're so glad you're here. All right, we're starting to get some answers in here. Okay. All right, Maxine dropped in a C. From Instagram, I'm seeing Love Sis, JJJ, C. You're ready, B. C. Oh, I like that name. You ready, B? I can't see that question, but I think C. No, C is the correct answer. C is the correct answer. And let me see. I can share it this way too, if it makes it a little bit bigger. So yes, the correct answer is C. The students in this case, a lot of them see the large number and they pick A, and they put 339 there. But this turns the problem into a subtraction problem. And here we're looking for total. And the second student scored 75 points more. So they need to add to that 339. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to another problem here. Now, this one, let me remove our banner. This one is a 4th grade Release Star problem. Now, on this one, there were 82% of the students in Texas that did not get this answer correct. Okay, and what happens here is the students have different reference guide sheets that they for each one of their grade levels. And then I also share something here. Students actually get a reference material sheet for their grade level. And so what many of them don't realize is that everything that they need in terms of formulas, anything, it's already ready for them. And so you can't really see it on here because these are screenshots, but this is an online test. So the students are taking this on the computer. So this is literally what it looks like for them. And what they can do in the middle of the test, they can actually click on it, pull down that reference sheet, and it'll pull in whatever information they need. So not going fully into the problem, this problem was all about converting. And a lot of times we get those questions from students like, when am I ever going to use this? Well, I can tell you this, we mail a lot of stuff. You need to know where your box is, all those different things. So those type of things do come in handy. but they're trying to make these tests a little bit more realistic to what things that they would actually do. But in this case, this question is basically telling them, hey, you have these two boxes, and they want to know the differences in the weight. And many of the students, what they need to do is look at that reference material sheet, and it has a conversion of pounds to ounces. And so, in order to subtract, where a lot of them get confused, is they see this 4 pounds, 1 ounces, and then they see 1 pound, 9 ounces. Well, now, how do I subtract 9 from 1 ounce? They have to convert the 4 pounds. They need to take one of those full pounds from the four, convert it. The conversion is 16 ounces is 1 pound. So then they take the 16 ounces, add it to this 1 ounce, it becomes 17. Now they can subtract. So now they got 17 minus 9. That gives them the 8. But then here's where the other issue is. Now they took one of the pounds to convert it. So now they only have 3 left. But a lot of times they forget, oh, I didn't take that, they took the pound away. So if you notice in the answer choices, they have 2 where we have the correct ounces, but one is 3 and one is 2. They're already preparing that for the student who forgot that this 4 really became 3. So now they did 4 minus 1, and many of them choose B. Well, the correct answer in this case, it would be 3 minus the 1, which is the 2 pounds and 8 ounces. So it's those type of things that we need the students to really pay attention to as they're taking these tests, because they may know exactly how to do it, but they're going so quickly that they forget about it. Okay. And so we also,
And they get intimidated the minute something isn't perfect. It's like, okay, what do I do here? And it's really utilizing the reference sheet now, showing it to them, reminding them. And even now that you know this, if you get the test, which they are out here for you to get, um, showing them now and saying, hey, what would you do if you run into this? And it's not just about the answer, but it's also about the thought process. What would I do first if I encountered this?
yes, yes. And we're hearing a lot about those reference sheets. So Dawn actually on Instagram, and I'm sorry for some of you who can't see the questions on Instagram. StreamYard does something a little weird with that. So if you are watching on Instagram, we can see your questions. And so one of the great question twins 1116 said is how can we get our students to utilize it? The key, I'll tell you, print it out, have it with when they're working homework, studying for tests.
Exposure, exposure, exposure.
What happens a lot, they wait till they take the test, and then it's like, oh, there's a reference sheet. You're not going to use something you never looked at. And so they should be using it in the classroom, but they can use it at home.
And make sure they know how to get to it on the computer. One big shift in just testing in general, and I know some states did it before we did, that COVID pushed us, was online. And yeah, the kids take some assessments online, but it's that constant reminder, what are the tools that you have on here? And there's actually a site where students can practice this, and we will drop that site and share it as well. But practicing, where's the highlighter? Where is, the pen that I can underline? If you have where it can read the question to you, what is the button I press? And there is a button for the reference sheet to come down. Where is that? They want to make sure they know all of those tools so they can actually use them and not just pressing the button for the answer or how to move to the next page. But where's the ruler? Where are the tools that I need to show my best self on this exam?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm dropping this long link here for those of you on YouTube and Facebook. On Instagram, we're going to add that to our link tree. So for those of you who are in Texas, so that way you can actually click on it and you can do the practice test. So even this screenshot that we have, you'll see up here, it has like kind of a drop-down menu, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. Has a little drop-down menu, but inside of the test, they actually have it there. And if the students kind of take their mouse across it, you can actually see all of the different things. And we'll even make a reel on it for those of you who may be interested in seeing those.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so before we jump into our fifth grade, let's just kind of, if there's any questions anyone has, definitely use this time, because at the end of the day, we want this to be a benefit for you. We can talk problems all day long. And at the end of the day, if this doesn't identify for you these specific problems, we do all levels of math. So we go all the way down to kindergarten for those foundational skills, and we tutor all the way up to calculus, college calculus 3. So while you may see a lot of elementary on our page, algebra is really, we get a lot of students for that. But what happens is our elementary parents, they are who are in our DMs in the comments, like, can you show me a problem? One of them we're going to talk about here, and it's going to be a little shocking because it was shocking to us when we saw it. But if there are things like these, we, while tutoring, yes, it costs. But if you're following us on these social media platforms, we are sharing a lot of wealth of knowledge. So if it's a problem or a strategy that you don't know and you're looking for it, let us know, because it's somebody else in our math community that's looking for that too. And so we often make content around those type of questions. So please use Math-A-Matics as a resource. We are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're getting more into YouTube. We are on TikTok. So find us. And if you don't see it, let us know.
Absolutely.
So any questions from anybody?
Keeping with the theme of state testing, I think another thing, making sure your students are comfortable answering those open ended questions. One huge shift of the STAR test in the state of Texas was last year was the first year that they had 8 new question types. So we had drag and drop, fill in the blank. We even have essay versions now where students are going to type essays. And actually, one controversial thing about the essays, Texas just said they're going to let computers actually grade the students' essays instead of humans like they did last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how hard or how easy the computer grades and like what era there is in that computer aided grading for our students. They're going to still have a couple humans to grade just to see how the accuracy and the quality of the computer grading, but that's going to be interesting to see our scores. I definitely will say when we looked at the data, the scores and the categories for being in approaches, meets, and masters, those are our categories here, and then did not meets is our lowest category. I felt like the numbers actually were a little lower than they were in the previous year. And I definitely think that is because of the new question types. But students were getting approaches or high approaches, even meets, with just getting 50% of the test. So your student can be at masters if they're getting roughly 70%, even in some grade levels based on how tough the test is, even 60%. So it's not like your student has to get 100% of the test correct to truly be in the master's category or even on grade level in all actuality. So it's how much of the test do they know, do they understand to be on grade level and things like that.
Absolutely. No, that was a great thing. 'Cause I think when you were talking about it, I think one of them for masters, they only had to make a 16, they only had to get 69 in points. And I'm gonna be, let's real moment, a 69 is actually an F technically, but bell curve for those of us, they grade on a curve, because at the end of the day, it's not really about, no one wants the students to fail, but it is a measure. We have to be able to see where are our students, so it gives them an opportunity to be like, hey, here's an opportunity for growth, but look at how well we're doing. So just keep that in mind too when you're looking at the score report too. And other thing, go look at the report. When your child sends home that paper that has this on, and this is all states, because that is one of the first things when you book a consultation with us, as part of it, we ask you, did your child take a state assessment? Are there any end of the year tests or grades or things that you can share with us that have a report? Because let's say you don't decipher through it, we will do that for you.
Absolutely.
Because that is a good indicator for us. So we are here to help, but we also need though that type of that document that helps us be able to decipher for it. And that's how we tailor the sessions.
And it just shows, what did I still maybe not understand from the year before, for our tutors to bridge that into the new grade level that they're at. One thing about math, it builds on top of each other. So when your foundation is cracked down at the bottom, it's going to show up at the top, you know. There's sixth grade class that we worked with, and the cracks in the foundation was they just can't multiply. Well, we know that the multiplication is just getting harder, and it's adding decimals in there when we get to sixth grade. So if you can't multiply 3 times 5 now when I make it 35.9, you're still not going to be able to multiply that. So that's why we want to make sure that we know where those cracks are to fill them up. And that is what our standardized testing does. Now, don't get me wrong. While we're kind of sounding pro standardized testing, I absolutely think there's some tricks in there that just shouldn't be there. While we were reviewing this, there was a fifth grade problem that we both were like, that's the questions on grade level, but how they designed the question was not on grade level. Our babies in the fifth grade, they're not exposed to a diagram like this. Matter of fact, sixth grade is the first time that they really have exposure to these diagrams in math. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe in their Englishes or sciences, they might be exposed to it. But for math, it doesn't usually come till we start talking about integers in sixth grade. And I think that's what tricked up so many kids on this particular question. And over 70% of the kids in the state did not get this question correct. And it seems like we have quite a few people with us. I want to know what you think this answer is. If you drop it in the chat, or I'm looking at Instagram Live, so feel free to drop it in there too. What would you think? And do you think your student would know how to do this problem?
Yes, please take a stab at it. Let us know what you think, because this is what your child is seeing. This is an actual release question. And when I say, Don hit it on the head, we are not protesting. We're not. It is not. We started this live for some of you who are maybe just joined us. We started off, we are just the messengers. We did not create this. We don't.
Thank you.
We don't go check it. We don't grade it. We don't see it before the students take it. We don't know any of those things. But what we do know is there are trends. There are certain questions that are on every single test. Hi. Yes, release test. So from Instagram, Beatrice Jenkins 4 says, thank you for mentioning the release test. These tests are out there. If I'm not necessarily telling you to do this, but this is something we do because there's trends. We go through each one of the tests. How many times did this question type?
Or how many times has this standard been shown? There are patterns, there's even sites that show the history of it. Like every year or every 2 years, a certain standard shows up on the test. And I'm sure in other states, there are those types of trends as well. There are patterns, a lot of people don't like to recreate the wheel, if we're really honest about it.
Absolutely. We don't like to create the other.
There's actually patterns to SAT that we have studied too. Patterns in the how tough or how easy the question is, the same types of questions being rewritten. So there are patterns to these state exams. It's usually the same kind of companies that are writing all of these things.
I love this comment. So it's the comment from Instagram says, I had no idea, nor were we informed from the school. Is there a reason why it isn't freely shared? So it is freely shared. The problem, I'm gonna be very honest. These release tests have been, now they haven't been in this form that we're showing right this moment, but they have been on as PDFs. You can literally go all the way back and see release tests from I don't even want to say the year because I know it goes way back. But it is absolutely one of those things where those tests are there. And I think the teachers mention it. And even like, let's be honest, sometimes they send these long newsletters. Shout out to my teachers, because I used to do it. With all this information, and you're like, I'm already tired. You want me to read this paper, teacher? Just send me what you want me to do. So we get it. But it is out there freely. But when I
Absolutely.
say they are out here, and I'll tell you this, we're going to actually try to share a lot more as we're in this testing season, because I don't think we really realize how many these tests and things are out here. And thank you for sharing that. They said
Yeah.
they believe they have tests all the way from 2013.
2013.
It's here. It is out there for every, well, not every grade level, tested grade levels. It is out there. And
So
then I
somebody said their twins just guessed B. They're in the fourth grade. Um,
love.
it's not B. All right, we have a
Hey,
couple.
Adrienne. Thanks for joining us.
And
Are you
that's correct, Adrian. If you Google, yes, you can. And there is a site where you can see the digital version now because they didn't release last year's test in the paper form, only in a digital form that you can go.
And from Instagram, it was just shared for me to repeat this statement. Now, y'all don't give me when I say this statement. My mind, in my mind, I believe this. Do I think it's some other things to that? That's another live we can get into. But for this one, I want to be informative. These tests are not created to fail your child. That's not what it's for. This is not an end all. I am so thankful that they used to make it where your child couldn't get promoted
Yep.
if they failed this test. I am so thankful they took that away, because this is one test. What if I had a bad day? Um, we have actually a story that happened to one of our students.
I was going to say that.
We can't. I don't want to share the full out story, but it was life changing for her, and it happened on the day of the test, the morning of the test. And when I say this, she knew all of these things, but it was a rough day. You don't know what a child is going through at home, what experience. If it's a bad day, I'm going to bomb this test. My mind is not focused. This one test cannot determine your whole life. Hence why SAT, while it is something that controls your scholarships and the money that colleges give you, it's a reason why now you can take that test multiple times. They even have, and I wish they had it for us, because I was really good at the math, but that verbal testing me. But back then, you had to take the full test all over again.
Mhm.
Now on the SAT, you can take your highest score from each test that you take. They're trying to create more opportunities to really give
Oh, what you know.
them to show what they know. So this test, it is just a measure for us to be able to say, hey, this is where your child is. Let's see, is there some foundational gaps? If they're in fifth grade, is it really a fourth grade concept? Is it multiplying that they're struggling with? Maybe it's not the fifth grade content itself, it's the foundational skills.
And yes, we had somebody just drop. It is equilateral triangles.
It is. It is.
Thank you for participating.
Yes, yes, yes.
We saw this teacher's post. She's a middle school teacher. We actually went to school with her, and she was just like, don't focus on the test itself. Just let's make sure your kid can read, write, and do basic arithmetic. And she was like, if you focus on those things, the test doesn't matter and they will get so much further. And, she shared that from her lens of seeing middle schoolers struggle. She's a middle school teacher, and she was like, I sit in classes and I see them struggling, but I don't, sometimes parents, they may not even know what their kids don't know. So really be paying attention and make sure they can do those basic three things, and all the rest will fall into place for sure. I'm a grandma with the 8.
Oh, thank you. We try. We try. So we got a comment. She said, "I love you, girls. My girl, she's in the third grade. She's a grandma." So that's what we create these for. Like, you don't have to stress too much. We're here to kind of help where we can. So definitely utilize us as a resource. Utilize us if tutoring is not something that you necessarily want to get into at the moment. Give us a try here on our social media and see what you see, kind of how our teaching styles are, and different techniques that you can help your student with.
Miss Beatrice wanted me to repeat the three things, and actually Adrian also made a backed up my comment. The three things are to read, to write, and to do basic mathematics. So, no matter any tests, anything, you want to make sure your students have those basic skills. And Adrian said the same thing. It is the basic skills, the fundamentals of reading and those phonetic sounds and making sure they can comprehend what they're reading. How do we write clear sentences and paragraphs? And how do we do basic math? Adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. If it
That's it.
always goes back to the foundation, like I said at the beginning, math, we just build. If there's cracks here, when we get to the top, it's not going to be right. But
Yeah.
those are the key three things, no matter what.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we kind of jump into one of our last questions we want to share with you, and then kind of open the floor for some questions if there are some, is there are accommodations that you can get on these tests. Now, there's one specifically that we are researching because we have not found it just yet. But in the online test that we can speak for here in Texas, they actually have an option that you can have the test read aloud to you. So a lot of times the students are skimming over the questions and they may just need to hear it.
Yep.
But one of the things we are looking to before it was online, as you're administering the test, the students can raise their hand and ask their teacher to read the question. That's it. They can only read the question, nothing else. But to kind of stop with kind of cheating and different things, or even the potential to cheat, they removed that. So I just want to be full transparent. But I want to say that if a student asks for the read aloud, that before the test, the administrator can make that accessible for that student. But we are still researching that. So if that is a question, thank you, Adrian. She
Yeah,
answered
so she's
that.
not certain if it
Oh,
has to
it's
be
not certain. Okay.
accommodated. Yep.
We're going to check on that because in my mind, it should be available for any student.
Especially for our third grade babies, their first time taking it, they need somebody to read sometimes.
Yes. So we're going to look into that. But there's other accommodations. And then I'll say this last one, calculator. Eighth
Yeah.
grade, Algebra 1, they can use the calculator. Use that calculator. There's one, it's built into the system, as well as you can even ask. You can even ask for a physical one depending on your campus. Is that possible without being 504 SPED? That's actually what we're trying to check on. For
Yeah.
50, and to kind of give some background knowledge, 504 SPED, that's one of their required accommodations. So that guarantees that they have it. But let's say that a student does not have it. That's what we're trying to find out if any student can have that accommodation for the test.
So I would really say talk to your testing coordinator. They are going to have the best knowledge on these things. But I will say there are absolutely some accommodations that the school can make a decision on whether the student can have a certain accommodation, especially if there's like proof or written documentation saying that they've been given the accommodation in the classroom and that it was successful for them. But a great starting point is definitely the testing coordinator for sure.
Mhm. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you so much for everyone who's sharing the knowledge on here. That is
Yeah.
definitely what we love about these lives and why we like it's time for us to jump on one. But I did want to share, I think we have one more question. And I'm gonna be honest with you. When Dawn shared this one with me, I was like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. This one is a fifth grade problem on rounding. And if I'm correct, 78
78% of students in the state did not
missed
get
this
this question
problem.
correct.
And I'm going to tell you on our page, and I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to actually put it out there, and I'm going to tell you guys to go look for it. Dawn actually did a reel that is specifically on rounding. Please go check that video out. It is definitely, it shows a really great strategy of identifying your rounding and everything. But I want to speak a little bit about the format of this question because we were kind of discussing this. Like, what is it that we think why they missed it? Is it because the students really don't have the concept of rounding? Is it because this was one of those they had to fill it in? So they on this question, you'll see this box here where the students had to type in the numbers. Or was it the wording of rounding? Because yes, it tells you the round, but was there some confusion on which way to round? So we'll just give you kind of a second to look at it while, and Dawn, I think you're going to give a explanation.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think it's that it's already rounded. I
Yeah,
think a lot of the times we ask them to round, but what happens when it's already rounded makes your brain have to think in a different direction.
that. Yes.
And Adrian confirmed exactly what I said.
It's the way it's the way it's being asked. That they're not used to that. They're used to, and a lot of times the wording is not even in there. They just have the number round to the nearest
Yep.
place. So definitely. So if you are looking at this question, go ahead, drop us a comment. Let us know what answer would you have typed into the box. Matter of fact, type it in your comment box.
I'm not sure that this one. Not sure which subject.
And while we're waiting for a few answers, if there is a concept or a problem type, if you go look at these release tests and you're like, hey, I would love to see.
Somebody asked if we could read the question. They
Oh,
must not be able to see well on
I'm
Instagram.
going to make it a little bit bigger. All right. So this is problem number 19. A number rounded to the nearest hundred is 384 and 93 hundredths. The original number is greater than 384 and 93 hundredths. What could be the number? There is more than one possible answer. Enter your number in the space provided. Adrian, I was waiting on someone to say that. So Adrian shared that this contradicts not being designed for students to fail. Sorry, not sorry. You know what they say, you give an opportunity, it will embarrass you. This question did that. And that's why I was shocked. I was like, why are we doing this to these babies? The question is asking for a number that was rounded to 384 and 93 hundredths.
They're giving all of those anti-star people something to talk about. Where's the lady with the car with it all written over her car? She's somewhere and gonna ride around with this question.
We're gonna share that meme on our page. Okay, so
somebody said this is very intimidating for a fifth grader. My seventh grader would have given up. Mm-hmm. That's great feedback.
And that's probably what even happened here. So keep in mind when we say
7, yeah, Adrian, they did accept multiple solutions, anywhere from 384.93 through 931 through 934 for this one.
It's funny you actually shared this, Adrian, because that's what I was wondering. I don't think the TEK is even written this way. Mm-hmm. So in Texas, we follow TEKs, not Common Core. And the TEKs are very specific on what a student should know. Mm-hmm. And I don't think TEK is written this way. Not at all. I'm going to show it to everyone. Not at all. So these are those things. But for this question, basically the student would have needed to know that the number itself rounded down. Mm-hmm. And so they would have needed to simply type this number. And I say simply, it's really not simply, but after the 3, they needed to put in any number 4 or lower. Because if you put in a number 4 or lower, the number rounds down or stays the same. And then you drop that last digit, which would be in the thousands place. Some of them may have put a number larger than 5. Well, then that would have rounded it up.
Mm-hmm. So, and you know what else I just noticed about this? Because my strategy that's on our site, I tell you, zero's the game. Had they even put a 0 behind that 3 for the students, I think that would have been a great indicator for them that, okay, now you're asking me what was the original number. I needed a number in that thousandths place. And they didn't even put that 0. They just put nothing there. So I think that was a part of the trick too.
Mm-hmm. And it shouldn't even be a trick. It definitely. So I want to share this comment because I want you all to know this is how we feel sometimes when we are sharing strategies with you. Because the video, those 1 minute, 30-second videos don't give us a time to really say what we want to say, which is why we do these
Absolutely.
lives. I'm going to tell y'all some of these strategies, I'm not here for it. I wouldn't teach it. I don't agree with it. However, I know that every student learns different. So we open the door and we're like, hey, while I might not identify that one, that somebody else will. Or if a problem is saying, hey, you have to work it this way. But this comment that Adrian shared, this is actually what happens. Again, we are the messenger.
Hmm.
That's why we encourage parents, go to these board meetings.
Yes.
See what your school district is passing or considering. Um, go to the board meetings. Some of them are online. Go watch them. And then especially even when you're voting for some of these things, these are some of those things that you're voting for and you don't even know it. So I definitely will say be in the know and ask questions.
Absolutely.
But so those are kind of the questions we wanted to share. And then kind of what I said, at the very beginning. So mathematics tutoring, we do all levels of math and science. Math, we do put a lot of emphasis on it because that's really our background. That's really what we love to do effortlessly. But we tutor in all levels from kindergarten all the way to college calculus 3. So definitely if you are interested in getting a tutor and you're like, hey, this is over me, I don't want to go look at the release test, you don't have to. You can hire us.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things where, again, if you are not from Texas, that's okay. We pull up the specific to your state, district, and school. We even talk to your teacher with your permission. It takes a village, and so we want to be part of that village in the event that you are looking for a tutor. We partner your student with a tutor that knows the subject matter. They're often certified teachers, or they are college students who are in those fields of math, or even going in for their ACP candidacy to become a educator in the classroom. So I definitely will say there's a lot of tools out here. If you're not already, we encourage you to follow us here on all these platforms because it depends on where you're streaming us from, whether Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. Um,
We're all over,
we,
clearly.
we're all over.
And I just want to add, me and Kimberly, we don't know what we don't know. And what I mean by that is let us know, parents or teachers or anybody, what do you want to see? What do you want to hear us talk about? What are strategies that your students are struggling with that you want to be able to aid them with? Feel free to DM us and just say, hey, I would love for y'all to do a video on XYZ, and we will happily share a video on that. And like I said, for that rounding problem, check out our page. I definitely have something there. And even for some of the others, we do talk about a lot of these concepts and strategies. And we'll probably do one over strip diagrams since 92% of our kids in the whole state miss that question over strip diagrams. That means there's truly a deficit in the understanding of strip diagrams for sure.
Absolutely. And I will also say, let's say you're catching the replay for this. Still, go ahead and send us a DM, message us. That's what we're here for. At the end of the day, if it's something that you wanted to see, the only way you're gonna see it is if you mention it to us, because otherwise we listen to our DMs. A lot of times you're talking to us in the DMs.
Full conversation.
So definitely we can keep our live open just for maybe another few minutes, just in case there are any questions that pop up. We are, like I said, we are here for you. This is a business, but I one thing, if you've seen our journey in any place, we didn't mean for it to become a business, but it was a need. We started off just helping. Hence why now we use our platform for just that. You may see a lot of times you see my hand. I'm working on, problems. Don goes to the whiteboard. If that's something you need to see or as a strategy, let us know.
Absolutely.
So we'll give it about another minute. Um, well, wait just that one more minute. Resources. Oh, wait, we got one right here. My granddaughter reads very well. Say a fifth grade, she can write well, but Okay, so there's a but there. Okay. While she writes a comment, uh, doesn't enjoy it. What can I do to encourage her? I will definitely say writing and reading about things that they enjoy.
There
So
it
I
is.
was about to jump into resources. So we even have some resources that are sample problems, like if you're looking for different problems to work, where we make it relatable. Maybe it is for one of our students that plays basketball. We make the problem around basketball. So even stories and in writing, specifically if it's writing to encourage, have her write about her day. What is something you enjoy today? Instead of making it so, hey, you got to write about something you enjoy. If it's a young lady or even a journal, diary, those things are enjoyable. I'm not
Yeah,
a big writer, but I would write in my diary. So I would definitely plays the piano. Love piano is math.
it is.
It's math. So definitely, I would say pull in those things that she enjoys, that he or she enjoys. That's how you make that love. What happens is when we make it so structured and it's not relatable, we lose interest. As adults, we lose interest. Hi,
Absolutely.
Monica. Thanks for joining us. So no, definitely. And those are just a few examples of ways to kind of encourage. I know that's kind of what we do on our end. Turn it into a game. That's another way. All righty. So we're just past our hour mark. Um, if you guys want to see another or graphic novels, a no. No, I would not say that's a no. I definitely would say if she identifies with the graphic novels, go with it. Chapter books are really, really good because they tell storylines. So definitely, I will definitely say try every avenue of things that they would enjoy. But again, with that said, we have reached our time. We try to go on here live once a week, but if there's a need and you guys have questions, we'll jump back on here. Just let us know. We want to hear from you. Otherwise, we'll drop some reels in on some of these highly missed questions to help. But if there's nothing else,
Have a good night.
thank you.